Hello, Randy Rain here, and welcome to another episode of Randy's Retro Repair. If you've seen any of my videos, then you know I am a huge fan of Tomy. Great company back in the 70s and 80s and made some really cool stuff. I picked this thing up off of eBay and I've never seen it before. I don't think it came out in America. A few reasons. For one, it's called football. And we call it soccer because we already have a sport called football. The other thing is it has different languages. All the European languages are on here. And in America, we don't speak other languages. We should, but we don't. And I won't go into any more of that. The other reason is this had to come out in the 70s or 80s, somewhere around then. And back then, we really didn't care about soccer. And it's just now that we've really taken into the sport. Wrong, 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 wrong. They totally made a US version of this game. But this thing is very cool. I love games like this. So let's get this open. Let's see how it works. And let's make it work again. Let's go over this thing before I take it apart, clean it up, and get it in working order. It is electronic. You do turn it on here, and when you do, it's extremely noisy. It does seem like everything works. They move back and forth. All of them. They all spin. And when you take this off right here, you can see extra pieces and the little balls. And when they hit here, they will pop back. And that all works as well. The only thing that's broken that I can see are this goal is broken. This one seems to be in good shape, so I can copy that one. This goalie seems to be in shape, but this one is missing arms. So it seems like the only thing I need to do is make a new goal, make a new goalie, make some more players, clean it up, and show you how this thing works, because it's pretty neat. I'm going to start by making the molds for the players of the good ones that I have. So all of the little players are all the same, and the two goalies are the same. The only difference is colors. I have 3 good players and 1 good goalie. I need to make another goal net, and I have one of those. So this is what I have to work with in recreating these things. These things are very, very small. You can see them compared to a AA battery. This is some very tiny mold making and casting. This will be tricky, but I think I can do it. So I'm going to start off with a piece of wood and putting down some of my sulfur-free clay. And now I want to try to embed these little players in there about halfway. And I got to think about placement here. I think I'm only going to do 2 at a time instead of 3 at a time, because I think it'll be easier in the long run. So I'm going to take some hot glue and just tack it down a little bit to the board. So I need to mash the clay up against the wall to seal it up. For the goal net, I'm starting with the block of clay. Cut it down so that it'll fit in like so. And try not to distort it in any way. Next, I'm going to cut some clay so that it fits underneath here along the bottom edge. Now to build the reservoir around it. Now I'm just going to tack it down a little bit with some hot glue to the board. I had some extra clay in there and seal it off against the walls. So now for this goalie. I don't think I'm going to do the whole thing. I think I'm just going to do the little person and glue the person onto the little shaft. I'm going to start off with this big giant block of clay and just mash this part in. So now I'll square this clay off. So I need to make some register points. So I'm just going to take this popsicle stick on this one and just mash in some grooves here. This just makes the two halves easier to line up and stay lined up. And I need to make some registration points here so that this piece can line up and stay lined up better. Just going to use the end of a paintbrush and make some divots in here. Time to pour the silicone. I don't often show it in my videos, but I really work the silicone around to really get the air bubbles out and make sure it gets into every little crevice. So all the silicone is cured on this side. Time to pop these off. Take out the clay and do the other side. They're all cleaned out. Now I just need to hit it with a release agent. I'm a little afraid this one's going to break free and float up when I pour the silicone in, so I stuck this toothpick in there to hold it in place. Okay, time to take this apart. These are just rubber. These have to come off. So it takes 2 C's. Pull those out. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 screws on this side. The center screws are really long, while the end screws are pretty short. And then there's 1 screw hidden underneath here. And this will lift off. And that's what's inside. So let me show you how this works. These pieces are for the goalie. They sit in here and you move this back and forth for the goalie. There's one on this side as well. These are the little men that move back and forth. So let's look at this side and I'll show you how this works. Each little player rides on 2 rods. And these are square rods. These are not round. And there's a reason for that. If you look here on this one, it comes to this angle gear right here. And right here, also on this square rod, is this gear. And then this piece, there's these springs that hold this center. That's all those springs do, is make sure it's centered when you let up. And when you push forward, there's a little arm down here that moves this gear to this side of this angle gear. When you pull it back, it moves it to this side of the angle gear. If you don't push it at all, it's in the center, which doesn't turn the gear at all. So if I push this to here, you can see it now starts to turn that gear. If I pull it back and it moves to the other side, you'll see it turns it in the other direction. So that square rod that spins has a worm gear that slides on it. This is why it's square, so that this thing will turn when the rod is turned. And then if you can see right below it on the plastic of the bottom are these teeth. So when this spins, it rotates that worm gear, which rides on those teeth, and it makes the little player move back and forth depending on which direction that square rod is spinning. Now when you spin this thing, you can see below that it's turning another angle gear. And that gear is connected to a gear on another square shaft. So you can see that shaft spins when I spin this thing. And that shaft has another gear below, which is connected to this angle gear, which is where the little man is connected to. So as that shaft spins, it spins the little player. And so each part works off of two spinning square rods that also acts like the track that the player rides on. So if you follow the motor, which is inside here, it connects to this shaft here, which is round. It has a gear on the end of it, which goes to this angle gear, which runs this piece. So every time you move these back and forth, it moves these gears to either side of this angle gear, making it go in different directions. The same thing happens on the other side here, but those are underneath, and I would have to take all this off to show you that, which I'm not going to do because it's the exact same thing as right here. But this spinning shaft also goes into this gearbox. There's also the gearbox here. The same motor is spinning a shaft that's down here that's going all the way under here, that's spinning this worm drive. And right here's the best way to see. This is what pops those little balls out when they get into the little holes. And this is just a little worm drive with this gear here. And if I take this gear off, I can show you. It's just this wedge that as this thing spins around, it pulls it down, and then when it falls, it releases it and it pops up, making the ball jump. Put that gear back so you can see it spinning here. So you can see now it's going to start coming down. It's going down and pop. It pops back up. And these little popping pieces that knock the ball back, that's the noise that you hear when the game is playing, other than the gears just moving. So everything works good. There's no cracked gears that I can see. So I'm just going to clean up in here and put it back together. Time to see how the molds came out. Alright, let's give this a shot. I'm going to be using Smooth Cast 300Q. Q means quick. This stuff goes off extremely fast. This stuff goes off so fast you can actually watch it go off. Not inside of a mold, of course, but you can watch it go off. It turns from clear to white. I need to get some down in this little area here. Squeeze in there. And pour this into here. And let's see what happens. Try to squish this in there. As far as the players go, I'm just going to do them all white and paint them. Okay, time to open this up. See how well it filled all the void. That looks pretty good so far. Well, I need to cut out all the flashing, but that looks like the little goalie net. Works for me. Alright, let's see how the little guys came out. Oh, that is cute. Oh, I love it. I think that'll work just fine. Now a whole bunch more. So it's time to paint these little players. I'm going original, and the original were all white people. I'm as diverse as anybody, but this game was made in Japan, and all the players have black hair, chili bowl cuts. So I'm going to pretend that they're just all Japanese people. Now, the two goalies have different color jerseys than the players. There's a yellow and a green. I don't know if that's common in soccer, but that's the way they were originally, so that's the way I'm doing it. So they have to have a hole in the bottom so that the peg can fit in there. The biggest drill bit I have of my tiny drill bits are too small, and the smallest drill bit I have of my big drill bits are too big. So what I've ended up doing is just using my drill bit, drilling a hole. It's too big for it to fit snug on there. So I've been taking CA glue and dropping it down in here. Put it down in the hole and just gluing them in place essentially. Since the little pegs are nylon, the CA glue is not going to stick to it. So if I ever need to get them off of there, I can just pull them off of there. But they'll form and fit around there, and it'll stay good enough to play the game with. So to fix this no-arm goalie and replace it with the one I made, I'm just going to go ahead and snip it off. Go ahead and clean it flush. Hit it with some sandpaper. And then here's my little goalie. I'm going to try to cut it off. Then I'm just going to use some CA glue and glue that into place. Let that dry. And now this little goalie goes in here. And I can put the goal net back on. And that should complete the Super Cup football game. Usual guys. Yay! Well, there it is, the Super Cup football or the Super Cup soccer, depending where you live, by Tomy. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I'm going to enjoy this game. Hey, and if you like these little soccer games, I have another one that I restored. Check it out in the description below. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. Bye.